We welcome you back here to Longhorn Weekly. As we mentioned, it's a Big 12 Conference Tournament edition. Now, it's probably apropos that our next guest be with us as we talk postseason basketball. After all, Brad Buckman holds the record at the University of Texas for most postseason games played with the Longhorns. 13. Did you even realize
I know.
that?
I mean, I was reading the sheet before I got here, and I saw that. I was like, wow, that's a pretty big deal. So it's
13 NCAA tournament games.
Yeah, it's a tough place to get. People don't realize how hard it is. The season has roller coasters, up and downs, but postseason's where it really is. And fortunately, I've had some great teams where we were able to go to the Final Four, Elite Eight, and Sweet 16. So I've got some great memories from back then. So.
Now we'll get to some of those memories in a moment, but I was absolutely shaken to my foundation when I found out what you've gone on to do professionally, knowing you being the carefree, happy-go-lucky guy when you played at the University of Texas, and now this successful commercial real estate.
Yeah, I decided to retire in October of last year, and really wanted to get back in, from basketball to business. So I chose to join the commercial real estate world with this company called Aquila, which is a great local company, and coming back and forth from Europe, you kind of see Austin in a little bit of pieces. Like every summer I'd come back for about a month and go travel and see my family. And you're like, holy cow, Austin's gotten so big. And you come back to Austin full time now, and you're like, I'd like to be a part of Austin's growth. And commercial real estate's is obviously a booming business right now, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
Tell folks a little bit about your basketball career after Texas, because you did that for a little while before deciding you'd had enough of basketball.
Yeah, my first year out, I went to Greece. I've been playing internationally for 8 years now, and had a blast. I mean, being from Austin, born and raised, I never really thought I'd leave this place. But the opportunity came about, and my first year was great. Then, it just led to another 7 more years of playing, and, got to see, 10 countries, probably play number 25, and there's a lot out there, and, those are some of the best experiences of my life.
In playing in Europe, what is the attitude and approach from Americans who are playing in Europe? They know they're not in the league, obviously NBA or the D League, and it's in a different world, and yet it's still basketball.
Yeah, it's actually, as competitive, if not more. We pride ourselves on defense in Europe. Our coaches and presidents don't like us to give up more than 75 points a game. So it's a bit different. You got the NBA having 100, 130 points a game. It's cutthroat, and sometimes, it's a part of the business where sometimes you don't get paid on time, and, you got to go through those, disadvantages of being over there. But, the experience alone, meeting people in another part of the world, developing relationships, and actuality, like just seeing something you've never seen before. So I had a blast.
You decided to come back afterwards and then finish your degree. Well, you were finishing your degree even as you were still playing as well. How important was that to get to the finish line and get that done, even after your playing days at the University of Texas were done, to finish the degree?
More important than basketball alone, because, having that piece of paper really shows that you committed yourself for 4 years, and heck, you graduated from the University of Texas, so that's a big deal. And being from Austin, and my mother and my father have gone to UT also, just carry on that legacy with our family, and just to show that, I got that degree.
I'm glad you brought up Brent and Tammy for a moment, because for folks who do not realize how supportive parents need to be for student athletes, I never, ever remember doing a University of Texas game when you were playing, home or road, that I didn't see at least one of them, if not both of them. And usually it was the both of them there. What did that mean to you to have?
It meant a lot. Being from Austin, you want your family to get involved. It's a big reason why I chose University of Texas. And fortunately, we had some friends that allowed them to travel wherever we were, and it was a great experience. I'll never forget the moment when we just beat Michigan State in the Elite Eight. We were in San Antonio, and we go out there to celebrate, cheer with our crowd, and the first person I see is my dad, and I gave him the biggest hug, and he was the most proud I think he's ever seen me, been of me, and it was just one of those moments to where you can't take those back, and my family is more important than anything.
Did he try to make a golfer out of you, or at least lead? I mean, he was an NCAA champion golfer.
Yeah, that was the first the first sport I played, and he gave me, that was the first thing out of my hand was a golf club growing up. So I tried. It's a little slower pace than I like, and I'm more of just like baseball, where I need more action. So golf was just early on, him being a part of Barton Creek Country Club when I was a kid. made it easy, very accessible for me to play golf. But basketball was what I always wanted to do.
So after you came back from basketball, and like you said, you decided to get into something else. Why did it really just sink into you that commercial real estate was the route you wanted to go?
My mother was in real estate. I've got a lot of friends in the business. Actually, J.D. Lewis and Connor Ashley are in the business too. So it's a great way for athletes to still stay competitive. And as you can see, Austin's skyline is booming. So it's just a great way to get into business and just to be part of Austin.
You brought up the competitive nature. How important is it for ex-athletes to be in a field once their playing days are done, to be in something that still drives them competitively? Because the vision that a lot of folks have of athletes is you play at the college level, if you're fortunate and skilled enough, you play at the professional level for several years, and then you quote unquote retire and you just kick back. But I hear more and more that athletes don't want to continue to be challenged professionally in a way that at least kind of approximates how they were challenged as athletes.
Well, that's what we grew up doing. We were competitive from day one, and so that's what we're best at. And if we can be in a business that allows us to keep that going, we're going to thrive. So it's like insurance or real estate. It's one of those two things athletes do because it allows you to somewhat, feel like you're got to box somebody out to get a deal, or fight someone for a potential something in business. So.
All right. Brad Buckman's our special guest. Now, when Rick Barnes rejoins us, we'll talk about some of the competitive days when Rick was coaching Brad. When we continue with Longhorn Weekly, we'll continue right after this.
Rebound Kansas State in transition. Johnson slotted away by Holmes. Oh, what a block. He elevated. Texas back the other way. Driving in. A lob. A slam. Cam Ridley. A throwdown for Cam Ridley. And Texas leads by 8. And he's fouled.
It was a big moment in the Longhorns win over Kansas State on Saturday. Pulling away, the transition started with, and you've referred to it, Rick, the after John Holmes took the three, the ill-advised three. In fact, he even told us that on the postgame. He said, Coach won't like that one. Comes down, hustles down, gets the block, and starts to transition the other way.
It was, like Brad just said, it was a great sequence of plays, and those are the kind of plays that can really obviously get your team going, but also get the crowd into it. And great play for Cam. Cam had a great week of training leading up to this game, and I was glad to see him go out because I thought he had a lot more energy.
How many great sequences of plays like that do you remember that Brad Buckman was involved in?
I'm going to tell you about Brad. First of all, I remember the first time I met his dad. He was on a golf cart. I was on a golf cart right at Barton Creek. I could take you right to the spot, and I'd heard about Brad. That he had a son that was young, and my son Nick at the time was really into golf, but. Brent kind of started working with Nick, and I would start hanging out with Brad a little bit. And the one thing I always loved about Brad Buckman, he never lost that little boy's love for the game. He played with a smile, was fearless, and he was one of the first guys that taught me the importance of a player having a short memory. He could really let things go quick. But you think about our Final Four team. He started as a freshman on that team, and we were actually watching some clips the other day with our team about the way we rebounded the ball. And in that, I remember both of those games, Connecticut, Michigan State. He came up with some big rebounds. But the thing, and he could block shots too. But what he did, again, think about it. He came in as a freshman and was a McDonald's All-American, and his teammates loved him because his innocence and the fact that he was real and never acted like he had a sense of entitlement. And the other thing I would tell you, I don't care what sport he chose to play. Like I know his dad got him playing golf. If he would have wanted to be a pro golfer, he could have been a pro golfer. If he would have wanted to, he can throw a football 80 yards. I've never seen. In baseball, he could do that. But like he said, his personality's not for wanting to stand around because he wants to be on the go all the time. And but he was a player that, looking back, I have a lot of fond memories smiling at him. And there's times he didn't know I'd get after him because I do remember because he and I've told him this before. I love his fun-loving, free spirit, and that's what makes him who he is today. That's why he's going to be successful, because anybody's ever met him is going to fall in love with him and would tell you that, because he's he's fun. He's fun to be around, and I can only imagine the team with Ogden and and Grasset.
Oh, geez.
I mean,
yeah, we've had some great memories there.
Those guys together. But when you look back on coming in as a freshman, you know, and he obviously could have. I think his other school he was really considering was the University of North Carolina, but you chose to stay here, and you came in as a freshman. What do you think? And it's been a while. Can you think back to what was the hardest thing to get ready for?
Just preparing yourself before each game. But what I tell everybody that asks me the same question is like, we had great guys. Like TJ ran the team. Royale was he was a leader also. I mean, we had so many different guys on the team that would really just implement what to do every game. And not like, hearing a coach tell you what to do is different than like what the players tell you to do, because, as a unit, we're fighting for each other. So just the preparation before each game and what it took to be great. And I was fortunate to have some great teams and some great teammates. And but as a bright-eyed, bushy freshman, you think you got the world on your on your shoulders. But it's a humbling moment when you get there and you've got older guys like James Thomas, for instance, going at you in the rebounding drills. We do the circle of the wagons, and I'll never forget James just bringing his arm and hitting you across the chest, and afterwards you can't breathe. But you knew the next time you were going to do whatever you could to meet him before he hit you. But it's a heck of an experience, and I'll never forget.
I remember one of the great games too that we had. I think it was your grandmother had passed away, and we had to go up and play Memphis,
yeah,
and they were rolling, and we went in and. A big play in the game was Brad dove on the ball. Remember,
I hit it to Daniel.
Right there was a huge play of the game, but one of and I tell people one of the greatest offensive teams we've had here. We still call push. We obviously try to run it with this, but when he was up top and you put LaMarcus and PJ Tucker down there together. One, because he would pass the ball, and he would throw some unbelievable passes from up there. But those three guys, and you would have Kenton or Daniel or AJ. Pick your poison here, which way you want to go. But him in the middle would trigger it. And but I will never forget the game at Memphis because I don't think we had played zone all year. We go up there, and then because I remember John Calipari said to me, he said, "I can't believe that." He said, "You came up here and played it the entire time."
And they were number 3 in the country.
Yeah. But his play was a play. It was a huge play there at the end that too, and PJ. I mean, they were a terrific team.
Brad, you had the unique opportunity to play with several different tremendously skilled and talented players. You mentioned TJ and, of course, Royale Ivy, and then transitioning with LaMarcus and Daniel Gibson there and PJ Tucker. And you just missed out on getting a chance to play with Kevin Durant there, your senior, at least play on the same team as well. But when you think back of those skilled and talented guys, what stands out to you about those particular individuals getting a chance to play with those guys?
I mean, how good they really are. I mean, me being the senior or the junior, obviously the upperclassmen compared to they were, you always feel like, oh, I can't learn anything from them. I want to be better than them. And then, man, I'll never forget that. I told Marcus, like, keep doing what you're doing because I'm going to follow you because I'm going to let my role change, and I want you to be, be the man on the block. And I just, I could tell there was something about those guys that I actually wanted a piece of, and in order for me to, let that shine, I had to, give them the ball. And I just sat back and just watched. I mean, those are impressive players. Obviously, you see LaMarcus doing very well in the NBA now, and TJ was a great role model, and they made the game so simple. And I just was, I look back, it was just great to play with him.
Well, and what I would say about Brad, too, again, with his personality, I mean, just that. I mean, he wanted to, he really loved passing the ball. I mean, he got great excitement out of throwing a great pass and or blocking a shot, whereas, like talking about LaMarcus, LaMarcus was going to go down the block, and he would stay there and he would shoot the same shot over and over and over, where Brad would want to do that a little bit, step out, knock down a three, rebound, block a shot, and it goes back to personality. But you mentioned too, the way TJ did things, but also Royale, Brandon, those guys. Yeah. I mean, those guys were competitive, and but you know what, Brad, I will tell you this: our guys today think we're physical. Nothing compared to back. I mean, remember it was you throw in all those guys.
But we competed. Yeah. That was the thing. Every practice wasn't a practice; it was a game.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. You had to box out Boddicker was even. He brought it every day, man, and that guy's physical. He made me better every day because I knew I wasn't going to box him out every time, and he wanted that ball just as much as I did. But we went hard every day in practice, and we wanted to get better, and we wanted to make Texas special. So
what about? Can you hit a driver yet?
You know what? That was the big shortcut.
Yeah, of course. My driver's better than I threw away the butter knife. The 1 iron got put in the bag, and I brought out my driver. It's doing pretty well.
He would never hit a driver, but he'd hit a 1 iron out of sight. And, it's kind of like my son. They'd hit it. They just weren't sure where it was going to go.
No.
But you're hitting a driver?
Yeah, well, I got a little more time to play golf now, so I'm taking advantage of that.
Sounds like a successful real estate guy. Brad, thanks for dropping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Longhorn Weekly will continue here on the Longhorn Network and the Longhorn IMG Radio Network.